Meta Perspective Podcast.
Hello, and welcome back to Meta Perspective Podcast. We're your hosts, Alex,
Evan,
and the girl. This is the show where we kind of just go over different topics, different ideas, and we try to hit every perspective by you, the viewer, joining in and giving your thoughts.
Yeah, and we have right now we've got a promotion going on. This is actually this show has been going on for probably about 3 years now. We were just doing it live on Twitch, and we switched to YouTube, and we need some followers. We need more exposure, so we're giving a $5 gift card to new subscribers. If you screenshot your subscription and send an email to parodyworldproductions@gmail.com, we will send you a $5 Amazon gift card, no strings attached. No spam links, just, give you the code and you enter it.
Cold hard cash, baby.
Cold hard cash, Amazon cash.
Plastic card.
Also, we have a call line. We are connected through the Bluetooth. We can hear what you're saying and project it, and we can talk to you back through the phone. But your number will remain anonymous, and if you feel like you want to add into the conversation, maybe we might hook you up with a little something special. We need someone to use this line because we got it.
And even if you are a little too nervous to give the call, don't be afraid to jump in the chat. We do read that periodically as we go through the show. So that's one way to jump in. Or even if you just want a different topic for the future, just add in what you want us to talk about. And, we'll explore that idea as well.
Yeah, because Meta Perspective Podcast isn't meta without your perspective.
Ding.
Ding. So yeah, tonight we'll be talking about the movement of populism, or Un-Populism, as the title suggests, because I feel like it's a term that is becoming unpopular for reasons that may be coerced.
Unpopular to the populace.
But yeah, we're going to get into a little bit of politics, a little bit of, history and stuff like that. But this isn't meant to be a political angle. This is really just meant to kind of open your minds and get to a deep place. And we like to do that on the show. Take your mind and we traverse down the cavernous areas of the deep recesses of your mind and unlock interesting thoughts. And, we talk about this stuff all the time. So, when we do the show, it comes out and we kind of get new inspiration and it just kind of flows. But we love when other people join in and, definitely let us know what you got. And we can respond to it. So yeah.
Especially nowadays with technology, it's like we have a lot more access to information we never had previously, not just what's going on across the world, but also what's going on in our own backyard. Kind of paints a picture along with our experiences of something that obviously is a little different from us. Even in a perfect world, if you look at democracy, there's still aspects that you're like, oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting to know that this is how this actually works. So a lot of it is just kind of going through kind of what we notice, directions we see things going. And, we just want your opinion on, your thoughts on, do you see it kind of going that direction, or do you see it going, the opposite of what we're saying? It's just really just trying to talk about things that really people tend to steer away from, but we all think.
Yeah. So let's get into the nitty gritty.
Let's grit it up.
The populist movement. So you'll hear, in a lot of ways, Donald Trump is attached to the idea of populism. But this is not what we're talking about. We're talking about a global movement towards, populism, which I guess if you don't really know what that means, essentially it's the idea of, it's kind of like the true democracy that we all kind of envisioned, that the West has been trying to recreate since like the ancient Greeks of Athens and stuff like that. It's the entire population. What's best for the people that are living in this country, regardless of, foreign policy, world events, things like that. It's really kind of, I guess you could kind of say like America first is, that even that has been kind of coined to be like right wing or whatever. But it's really the idea of that, we all live in America, so our government should, have our benefit in their most highest regard. And then that's really the purpose of, if the government's there to improve our quality of life and protect us or serve us, create the infrastructure for life and freedom to be expressed, then, what better way to do it than if it's for the good of the population in the country. And that's really kind of the core of populism. It's not any type of right or left idea. It's really just the idea that, what's best for the people in the country is what should come first. And our government and world governments over the past, 20 or so years, as technology has kind of taken a hold of all of us across the globe, that is becoming less and less relevant or, profitable in the eyes of mega world global capitalism. They don't really care about us. They've kind of sold us to the, put us in the ad sections. It's like, well, they don't even know what they want. We know what they want. So, this populist movement, blah.
Well, in their defense, they do monitor everything we type into Google and et cetera. So they probably do know what we need better than us. They're like, we've run the numbers. We've crunched them. Trust me, you don't need a new sports car. What you need, more taxes.
That's the interesting thing, too. It's like we have more and more data about how people think, what they like, what they do, the communities and small, sects of society that kind of, correlate to the greater population in different cities and areas of this country, states and all that. But we're not really getting that catered data, that information that's now newly available. It's becoming more and more apparent that is being ignored or that is not considered in these kind of, overarching policies. And what I mean by policies is more of the aim of what you're trying to accomplish. There's a lot of rhetoric out there that's, the middle class and the unfortunate, impoverished people and like the minorities, not just racial minorities, but the minorities in this area that are like that is kind of used as a tool. They say it, but what is anyone really doing? And by they, I mean kind of the aim of what you're trying to accomplish. We've all been kind of given this shiny, sparkling picture of what life should be and conceptualized utopia to every end, but we're not in utopia. Are you in utopia? You like it? No.
That's why
things are getting kind of worse in a way.
That's why the populist thing is unpopular, because nowadays that's kind of the angle they go. Like back in the day, especially the Democrats were real big on being like, we need to trim the taxes for the middle class. It's getting too high. We need to start bringing it back down. And that, for the majority, is what everybody kind of wanted right off the bat. We'll start dealing with other stuff after, but first, we need more money. Money is power, and if we don't have money, we don't really have the freedom to do what we want.
Are you talking about as a citizen or as a government?
As a citizen.
Right. Okay.
So as a citizen, I was...
Money in pocket.
I was telling the girl earlier that nowadays, it's kind of set up to where it's almost illegal to be homeless in most areas in America, where you can't just like walk around. You can't just sleep here, or it's like you can get arrested. So I mean,
Everyone owns some property, so like anywhere you are, it's technically not your property.
exactly, and even like a public park, like that's your best bet. But even then, there's curfews and stuff. Oh, you're here after dark,
There's ordinances.
arrested. Oh, it's raining, and again, it's raining. Like that's the best bet is a place where you really don't have shelter.
You can find under bridges.
Yeah, and even that is, some government property. They're gonna be like, you can't just sleep here. Everything's
You can't
owned.
put your stuff here. You can be under here, but don't sleep here.
Yeah, just keep it moving. You're like, where do I go? They're like,
Move along
to
sir.
jail. To jail. But that's kind of what I was telling her earlier is nowadays things have been pushed so hard on us that we can't really afford to not go to work. You can't afford to stand up and fight the power. You can't afford to. Worst case scenario, you could lose your home because you lose your job. You lose your job, you lose your home. You're going to end up in jail because there's not really any options outside of that. You go live in a homeless shelter. Like,
Exactly. And the only thing that
go to jail.
and the only thing that we're left with now is our voice, or so so we're told.
What we have left of.
So it's like, the power of the individual citizen in this country and around the world is becoming more and more diluted. By these structures and by these communication lines, that it's really kind of hard to do anything significant as an individual, and that's where your voice is your most powerful tool, and all of our most powerful tools. And when we organize and when we connect with each other and we channel that energy into something, is when actual movements happen, and that is continually under threat more and more, and people are being silenced and censored. And the whole idea of populism is, why are you doing this? Why are you censoring us when we are the ones that are paying the taxes? We're the ones that are trying to find a home and live in this world, whether we have to pay for it or whether we have to sleep on the street. This is, we're all in this together. And it's becoming more and more fragmented of, what can you really do? Most people feel defeated. They feel like they can't do anything, so they don't.
And that's kind of what I was getting at as far as like that angle of populism that's sold to us by government. Obviously, we've all been divided into whatever group kind of resonates with you the most. Like, that's your place for you to have a voice. You guys don't have money, you don't have power, but you can get together and you can talk about the injustices and you can protest. But we've seen now that most of these groups that have popped up, they seem to be kind of created by government. Because while a lot of the rhetoric does sound good, like, well, of course, I want equal rights for everybody, across the board. I'm not sure what this group or that group doesn't get as far as equal rights. I'm not sure, but I'll stand with them. A lot of people, it's like, well, I can't take off work, but I can donate $20. So you see a lot of these organizations getting a lot of money, and most of that money we've seen. Just one example, obviously not to be controversial, but to be controversial. Black Lives Matter. It's like, you may not know what all's going on in the organization. All you know is there's police brutality. I've experienced it myself. I know a lot of people who have. And you say, well, yeah, that should be a thing. It's, if we're staying bare bones, it's, sworn to protect and serve the community. So if that's not happening somewhere, I don't like that, I'll donate money. Well, we see the organization that started saying, hey, populism, don't you all agree with this? And everybody's like, yeah, injustice is bad. We'll all stand behind it. People donate money. That money doesn't really go back into the communities. That money's not donated, or none of it's given to the families of the victims that they kind of propped up to get the attention. None of it really goes back. And then obviously it comes out that the head of the organization is buying multiple mansions, and if they're all in white areas,
like
and it
paying
just,
people $1.4 million for consulting services. It's like
which is obviously a lot of money laundering, donating like to other organizations,
I mean-
and even the original what was it? It was the something blue. I forgot the name of it, but there was the original charity, and then I actually went to the website for Black Lives Matter when it was like established, when it had been getting some ground. And I looked into the donating process, and I was like, well, what is it to donate? And I started looking, and I was like, I clicked on the thing, and it took me to a whole nother website, and it's the official Black Lives Matters BLM website. When I clicked on the link to donate, it took me to another thing. I wish I could remember. It was something blue or something for the blue. I forgot what it was, but
back the blue.
that's police. Ooh,
Right.
careful.
Oh, you said blue.
It is.
I
do. I remember the word blue in there. I may be wrong, but it was this separate organization. And when you look into the organization, because I always try to see what the organization is. It's
right.
like
You got to follow the breadcrumbs.
How many billions of dollars are we going to give for the cure, and we still got cancer? It's like, what are you guys doing besides making T-shirts to sell me?
Right.
So that you can make more T-shirts to sell me. This is a
drink
business.
Crystal glasses and champagne at the big dinner donation charity event.
$50,000 a table.
Yeah, you pay artists $500,000.
Yeah, and it becomes it all just becomes a show. So when I looked into it, it was like it was all donation. Almost all the donations were going to Democrat ran campaigns. At the time, the big one was Biden. He was the top one. Like the majority of the percentage would go to him, and then it would filter to other people within on the left. And again, it's like I don't have a problem with things working that way as long as it's more transparent. Because I had to jump through some hoops to find that out.
Yeah, people aren't donating to this organization because they want to fund political campaigns. I mean, maybe some of them are, but you could just fund the political campaigns by donating to those campaigns.
Yeah, but that's what a lot of people, I think, are starting to wake up to is we have a lot of organizations that represent what we all agree on. However, the money doesn't go to anything that helps that cause. So if you're Black Lives Matters and you're like, we don't like police brutality, why isn't the money for that going? The only place that money should go is impoverished areas that have bad crime and stuff. You boost that area, donate some of the money for a school. You have your activists and everything go and basically demand a reform of that precinct. We want all new people, or we will take this into our hands. We will stop funding you entirely, and we will create our own police network.
Like fund
do
the body cameras or something. Like don't rely on don't ask the municipality to put every officer with a body camera. If you have billions and billions of dollars, which by the way you're getting from all these big major businesses that want to say, oh yes, I support Black Lives. Like I support this. I don't care where the money's going. This is a write-off for me, and here's $10 billion or whatever.
And we'll put it on our website saying we did that to get more business, because it's all a business. Yeah. Everything's a business. And I think people are waking up to the fact that populism nowadays is being used on us to just get more money. Everybody's already spending all their money, and they're unhappy that everybody's becoming impoverished, and they don't really have much wiggle room. Most people can't afford to take off a day or a week of work to go fight for something they believe in. Most people can't do that. So what do? You create a separate network that says, hey, you don't have to be here. You don't have to anything. Just support it. And it's like, okay, how do I do that? Change your Facebook profile and donate money. So when you're doing this stuff, all that money doesn't get cycled back into the areas that need the help, that are crying out. They go back to the businesses that realistically in some situations are causing some of this by draining money out of the area, and causing things to get to the point. I mean, you look at Detroit. A lot of the reason Detroit is the way it is because of businesses, regulations, and failures. And what's left? The people. Us. Yeah. The people who are just stuck in this area that's basically been abandoned by the people who were there to basically let it thrive and give these people, the cycling income they needed. That never happens. It doesn't happen, and that's why you have all these cities that are falling apart. You look at California. I mean, like all of these places are kind of just falling apart, and that's what I think people are waking up to is we're donating all our money to all of these different causes because we can't go out and do anything about it, and all they're doing is taking our last few bucks, and nothing's changing.
Yeah.
Like Black Lives Matters. What's changed when it comes to police brutality since that's popped up?
Right. What if they really? What can they?
The media stopped covering.
Show?
The media stopped covering it as much.
Right.
Great. Like that doesn't mean it's not still happening.
Yeah.
Can we actually do something about reform of police in general?
Give us something. You know, like at least the Red Cross. You know, it builds like wells somewhere. You know, there's a trail there. It's established. And actually, I want to bring up a point here. Like what you're talking about is the support behind these mega, American charities or whatever. It's all a, it's some kind of maybe marginalized community or something that has a social implication of why you want to support it. And I want to bring up a great example of a wonderful organization that went nowhere, that had everybody behind it, that it wasn't about a marginalized community, it was about all of us. It was kind of a populist movement, or like the start of what now, you could kind of say has turned into this mentality of populist people. And that organization is Occupy Wall Street. Now, at the time, it was kind of a loose organization. Then they had some, their creed was like very intense, like things that probably would never happen. So it wasn't very organized or directed. But, you have everybody from, black, white, Hispanic, male, female, middle class, lower class. You had all these people that were all kind of in this boat together, and that, why wouldn't that get garnished the same support as Black Lives Matter has, a couple years ago? That's billions and billions of dollars. Oh, I wonder why. Because it's Occupy Wall Street. It's against some of the biggest financial players who are funding all of the media, the media, who are, basically deciding.
That's bad news.
Ooh.
That's bad news.
Deciding what charities, are.
Appreciate you.
Other, these big businesses like, whatever they are, Macy's, Amazon, all these big guys that have donated to these, some of these charities like Black Lives Matter, things like that. Where were they in the Occupy Wall Street movement?
Yeah.
And I, for a long time, I did like it. I was like, okay, fuck yeah. These guys are basically gaming the system where the richest stay rich. You have these hedge funds moving money between entities and LLCs and all this stuff. It's like, it never really gets taxed. It's always like an asset to like, oh, I'm a venture capitalist in your asset fund. So it's like, I'm protected from taxes, and then the gains go to my LLC, and then it's a big fucking circle. So it's like, there was something there. Obviously didn't go anywhere. There wasn't the big major backing, but that was a populist idea. That was, we are the people. We're not taking part in any of this. We're paying our taxes for what? Infrastructure, like to make our lives better, but you're not spending the money on that. None of this is only going to the top 1%. And that was really kind of when the whole 99%, 1% idea took hold.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of been the lasting benefit to that movement that really essentially went nowhere, was that we have the term 99% and 1% now. Everyone understands that. So why can't we get behind that idea? Why does it have to be marginalized communities that we can't really pinpoint how this is happening, what the statistics are, or who's being affected, how the money's being spent? We all understand that 99% of the world's money is in the hands of the 1%.
Yeah.
Let's get behind that. And that is populism.
Yeah, I think most people at this point, especially after that, all kind of have this understanding that, back in the day, for example, you get somebody who's running for mayor, governor, whatever. The idea is they know the problems of the area. They know what the people need, and it's not getting done. So they're going to try to be the person to get it done because they are one of the few people maybe understands kind of how it works. And they're like, actually, I think I know how to fix this. I'm going to run on this idea alone, and I'm going to really vocalize it. And I'm going to explain how I'm going to fix it because I don't care if somebody else takes my idea. I want it fixed. So I'm going to put the idea, this is what I'm going to do. Get behind me because this sounds like a good idea, right? Well, nowadays, because I would, it's gone on all through history, but I would argue that technology and social media and everything has made it much worse. And that is that people nowadays, it's not, I know my area, I want to help it, I'm going to get into this position of power. Now it's, I know the system. I know this because I've done the research and everything. I know how money works. So, I don't, all I need to do is get a loan out, use that loan for this and blah, 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 and switch the money around. And before you know it, like I'm driving a Lamborghini, but I don't really pay real money for any of it. I'm in debt for everything. But by doing this, and by creating more debt, I'm creating more opportunity for myself. And when you have some people, a large number of people who are like within this 1%, a decent chunk of them at least, and that might not seem like a big deal when it's like a percentage of that 1%, but these are people with legitimate power now. And when you have people who have established their power, not for the sake of the people, but their motivation to get to that power was strictly greed, you have to assume that when they make that kind of fortune, what they're putting that money into is not going to be beneficial. So a lot of what's going on now is it's selfishness mixed with evil in my eyes, because you have people who in that 1% who probably do believe like for example, the famous George Soros 60 Minutes episode where he talks about like he fancies himself a god, and almost a direct quote, and how what did he say? He said, I fancy myself a god. He said, but the nice thing about it essentially is that it's no longer a dream for me. Like he's saying, not only does he fancy himself a god, but he believes that he believes he's reached that level. So when you have people who don't try to get money and power to help others because they see the suffering, but somebody who internalizes their own suffering and tries to climb above everybody else through that, it's the wrong direction for making any type of fortune. But you have to assume that money that they're getting is going to be used to hurt you. Even if they're not evil themselves, the other branches of these power structures are going to see you rise and be like, hey, we want to adopt you, buddy. Or at the very least, let's get some of your money behind this, or let's do that. They're going to sell this idea. You never had a righteous cause for reaching this place. So why not join us and double, triple, quadruple where you're at now? We are the ones who will get you to this next step. And I think that's kind of what's happening is you're seeing like all of these tech monopolies and all these people suddenly kind of globbing together. They all have the same rhetoric. Everything is kind of mirroring itself, whether it's a JP Morgan, YouTube, we'll watch it, or any of these other platforms, like Instagram or whatever else. They all kind of push the same rhetoric. They all say the same stuff. And again, it's like, get behind these little groups. And it's like, okay, and do what?
Right.
Like Call of Duty.
Change your Facebook profile.
You log into Call of Duty, and it's like, hey, we just gave you this whole rainbow package. You go on Fortnite, they're like, hey, here's some free items in the item shop. It's all rainbow stuff. And it's like, I'm
Ukraine gun wraps.
Yeah, it's like I'm all for supporting the groups, but if you're a company, obviously a business, people don't really recognize this, but if you're a business like Call of Duty and you're like, how do we get ourselves out there? Well, let's make rainbow stuff and give it to people for free. That way people know we stand behind it. Oh, you stand behind it. How, as a huge multi-million, billion-dollar company, how much did you donate to the cause?
Yeah.
Typically it's nothing. And it's like, so you took like a rainbow or something that they had, that group has. You put it on your thing and you were like, yeah, so hopefully we can get some of them to start playing now too. We just need more support. We need to sell more. We're not actually going to support your cause, but we'll use your cause to make us more money. Like, for example, when I worked at a giant World Bank at their corporate place, over 5,000 people in this building. I pull up one day, they're flying a gay pride flag up on the flagpole next to all these other flags they have. And it was like the center one, right? And the most noticeable one right there. And you pull up and it's like, I know you guys haven't done anything. You guys laid off 500 people in this past month. And some of them were gay. One guy I knew was gay. And it's like, you're flying a gay pride flag and then firing a gay guy who works there. Like, what are you actually doing besides the only thing I know that this World Bank did for homosexuals was take away their livelihood. There's nothing they've done to help the causes, and people don't see that these companies are taking advantage of these things. And that's kind of what I'm getting at, is all these giant monopolies all over, no matter where you look, you just see businesses that are taking advantage of situations, and they're the ones who are controlling it. They're the ones who get their claws into it. Just like politics, it's like you might be running for something good. Next thing you know, this guy's like turned on his people. It's like, what'd you do? He's like, I got offered, this X $1 million to just sign some stuff. Like, sorry, guys, you would have done the same thing.
Our shareholders suggested it.
Yeah. So what do you think about all this new wealth of these new millionaires just popping up? You don't think these are the type of people who are going to turn with their influence and start trying to come up with ways to help people? Or do you think that they're going to go to the evil side and that promises them that they can double, triple, quadruple their investment? Well, the wealthier this minority's getting, the more crooked it seems to be getting. And it seems like they're just bleeding everything dry.
I mean, I would say that's part of the shroud that's being casted over your everyday individual, the population, all of us. And it's really a lack of transparency, or if there is transparency, it's not. You would have to be looking for it. You'd have to follow, oh, you donated to this, like, where did that money go? Blah, blah, blah. How much was it? What have you, like you said, it's like, oh, well, you flew a gay pride flag and then fired, 50 of those 500 employees were gay or non-binary or something. So it's like, where was that metric? I can't find that out as an individual, not in the company, not working for the company. There's no way for me to know. So you're really just using it as a shroud to where a normal, average, everyday person cannot verify what you're doing. So they just assume that your intentions are good. And I think that's kind of what is happening now, is you're having people realizing that all the money is funneling very rapidly to the top. And this has been very accelerated the past 3 years. And the thing that I like about kind of the populist movement and what we're seeing now with independent media, independent candidates, and even everything that goes along with that, the censorship, the smearing of individuals that, when you really look into them, their ideas resonate with people. Why are these people being attacked so hard? This is all part of, it's an attempt to, well, let me just say this. The populist movement is not right or left. It's been kind of framed as like a right thing because of Trump, because the non-populists, or the elites, you could say, they don't like Trump. They want to tear him down. They don't want him to fuck with their system that they have built. And it's not just Trump. I'm talking about like Bobby Kennedy, Vivek Ramaswamy, even though that's another conservative. These are people that
Ron Paul.
Ron
They
Paul,
tore him
Rand
apart,
Paul.
but he was one of the only people at the time. He was one of the only people in general who was coming out saying, "Hey, we need to. My goal is to remove the Federal Reserve." And now we all kind of know, like, oh, wait, the Federal Reserve isn't federal. Like this is basically like a separate entity that controls all the money in our country, and we've allowed it to get to a point where we're really in debt to ourselves, kind of, or to this entity within us. And it's like, you see all these weird things, and they just keep attacking these people who really do seem to have the populist best intentions.
Like Elon Musk, perfect example. Until about a year ago, before he bought Twitter, Elon Musk was the bee's knees in everybody's eyes. I mean, the guy is probably the most influential, beneficial billionaire that I can name now or ever in the past. I mean, this guy, he pioneered the electric vehicle market. He's giving people internet in the middle of the desert in Africa and stuff like that. He's got a whole satellite internet thing set up.
Yeah, what pops to mind? What comes to your mind when I say the name Jeff Bezos?
Amazon.
That's the only thing that can pop in your mind.
Yeah.
But when you think of Elon Musk, it really is like, okay, he's not as rich as Bezos, but he was richer. But he was for a little bit. But it's like, you're telling me this guy it created his own rocket system. He made cars that were outperforming any EVs anybody ever heard of. I mean, he's creating autonomous. He started.
Right. He takes his code and puts it on open source.
Yeah, and he doesn't even control it. He's like, this is my patent for this stuff, but I want it open so anybody can use it, because just like a good person, he's like, or just like somebody who's really running for politics because they want to change, I'm going to tell you what my plan is.
Yeah.
Because even if somebody takes it and runs further than I did with it, as long as it's for the benefit, I don't have to win the race. I just have to pass the baton. But if I have to run the race myself, I'll do it. And you don't see that with anybody. Like Bezos, you don't hear about him being like, I got sustainable water for Africa. Like, you have the money to do something.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't want to. Didn't Bezos build a rocket too? Didn't he try to get into that
like
after Musk?
It was a dick-shaped rocket.
Yeah. It's like Elon Musk started doing it, and he started trying to do it. And
Right.
It bothered me because it's like, besides Amazon, the only thing that just popped in my head was the dick rocket. And it's like, so all you did was copy the only other billionaire on your level, really.
Yeah.
Like the two of you are competing.
And the crazy thing is, it's like, you have a guy that is genuinely, I believe, and I'm not the only one, that is wanting to leave a beneficial mark on humanity, because he's achieved everything. He has billions of dollars. He doesn't need power. He doesn't need, all these other things. He's using his money for the benefit of mankind, I believe. And I haven't seen anything that is questionable. Yeah, contradicting that. And the whole free speech thing, how can people attack this guy so hard on free speech? I mean, you can say, oh yeah, well, X was a bad idea. He should have left it as Twitter. Okay, whatever. But he got rid of a lot of the bots. He kind of calmed it in. He got the community notes. And at a time when censorship is
into a real social platform,
right?
What it was intended to be.
Yeah, I mean, got
rid of the bots, got rid of the fake stuff, got rid of the censorship. It's like, you guys can talk openly.
Yeah.
It's like, somebody said something that kind of offends me. Well, that's life. You have to understand that if you go to another country and you decide to leave the resort and go check out the locals bar, somebody might beat you up and take your wallet just because they know you're not going to do anything and you don't have a gun. Are you going to sit there and be like, are you just going to be traumatized for the rest of your life? Or are you going to realize, I need to be smarter and I need to be tougher? That's part of humanity. We have to push ourselves. Even when things are this comfortable, we have to realize that there are people outside of this country who want to cause us harm, who want to take over. We still have the threat of other countries trying to absorb us.
And that's another thing I want to bring up too. So like, I said that the populist movement, it's not necessarily right and left, even though it's been framed kind of to the right because of Trump. But Trump's just an independent kind of guy. He is conservative. So it's been framed as such. But you see this on the left too. And the point I wanted to bring up was that this is not just an America thing. You are seeing this all over the globe. The political elites are basically doing everything they can to slander people like Trump, Elon Musk, Bobby Kennedy. I don't know all the names of the foreign, the foreign leaders and stuff like that. Help me out on the chat. If you're out there, hit up the phone. We got a promotion going on.
Free money,
Get that $5 Amazon gift card and just throw it away because you just tell Bezos to shove it. But so like this is not. And the last episode we did was about divisiveness and how everything is being purposely divided. This all factors into it. They don't want the population to band together. They want to keep us right and left. They want to keep us, this country, that country, and they want to slander anyone who is furthering that movement, and they're being censored. They're being, sexual allegations all of a sudden come out, and it's like, oh well, that guy's just he rapes people, and it's like, well, none of that's verified. It's like, what's happening
put all through the media to the point where you don't want to acknowledge openly that you maybe support that person's channel or watch that person because of the implications behind it,
or now you can't even watch it.
Yeah,
even if the ideas are good and you would agree with them, you don't see it on your feed. This is all being, and this is the thing, guys, that that there is an an unpopulist movement because of all this stuff. Because what the people want, it's obviously not happening. Like we talked about the whole elite thing. It's like the richer are getting richer. And we're just kind of in the middle, like there's a reason why they're attacking these people. And that, to me, I mean, people are starting to wake up to it. It's starting to strengthen outside of its bounds because you cannot be contained at a certain point. And when the ideas take a hold, they don't let go. And people know and they realize this stuff, but there's no central way to organize around it. Any way to organize around the concepts of populism, they attack. So even if you did support it, it becomes socially unacceptable to do so. And you have, people that are basically being fed propaganda to where anything you say, it's not they're going to attack you because of something that they're just repeating that they heard, but they're never going to look into the ideas because they've written them off because that's been designed that way. It's almost a form of brainwashing. And it really takes waking up and being a part of the concept of where you want things to go to know that, okay, there's obviously a movement to suppress this. And that to me, that's what strengthens my passion for the populist kind of movement. I mean, we all want a better life, but it's not no one, where are the solutions at? How has our life gotten better in the past,
20 years?
Yeah. I mean, maybe 20 years, maybe, yeah, it's
longer
nice.
than that. But I mean,
We've
just
got
from
phones now. We buy phones every 6 months. Yay.
There goes more of my money.
How many subscriptions do you have? How many subscriptions did you have 3 years ago? How many subscriptions did you have 10 years ago? Just track the exponential nature of this stuff.
You can't just buy like a season of this and just be happy like, oh, I want to watch this. Oh, he has it. I'll borrow the DVDs from him. Now it's, who even has a DVD player?
Paramount Plus, Disney Plus, Netflix
Amazon
Super Plus Go without ads now. It's like, just pay $50 instead of $5, and you won't get any ads. It's like, oh, what's going to be next year? It's like, oh, well, you have to premium plus premium.
And kind of going off what you were saying too, as far as just kind of following what they're saying, back in the day, America was America. If you're America, I'm proud to be an American. When 9/11 happened, everybody had an American flag. The media was like, everybody, we have to band together. We're America. We're not going to take this. And it justified the war. They were like, hey, Americans, you're America, right? You're going to take this? And everybody's like, full authority. Do what you guys want to do. And we went and we just started going all over that area.
Yeah, and I like how they were like,
country, then this country.
Oh, yeah, Osama, he's like in Afghanistan. So let's invade Iraq.
We're going to take care of
And we're
Saddam,
like, yeah,
too.
fuck yeah.
We're just going to start going after everybody while we're over here. And but that's something I noticed was it went from everybody was proud to be an American and united under that aspect, while every other country, even now, a lot of other countries at least, who haven't been hit with this new wave of ideology that mirrors from coast to coast, all these other countries that have nothing to do with each other, totally different cultures, but for some reason their media is saying all the same stuff our media is saying. Most countries that are a little more secluded, that just kind of focus on their country, the people of those countries are extremely proud to be part of that country. It doesn't matter about the history, it's about what it's become. And what got me was within the last, I'd say, decade or so, a lot of media really started pushing, in politics in general, really started pushing, hey, we're a bad country, we've done bad things, and for that reason, we need to just restructure everything. And it's like, we did do bad things, and that's how we got here. Restructuring that doesn't change that's where we came from. Even if the fact that you could think that we have the power to restructure the way an entire country works in itself is privileged, because how do we have the capability of doing that? Well, because we have all the resources and this and that and everything's so technologically advanced. Oh, are you saying that we've made it far from our terrible dark past? No matter how you spin it, the past doesn't change. So it's about...
You're saying you need all of the people in the country to agree to change it? Oh, maybe that's why you're anti-populism.
And that's what really started to bother me, was when I started hearing all this rhetoric of, a lot of America's really not that great. There's a horrible things. And it was about, look at the past and let's focus on everything wrong now. And that in itself to me was like, you guys are Americans who are saying this, right? Like, I thought we were all proud of America. I thought we all understood that even with the dark past, even with the problems we have, we're still far better off than almost every country.
Yeah.
I mean, you could be like, well, this country has less crime. Yeah, but look at these laws. You'd go straight to jail for saying the stuff that you say.
And the problems seemed to be getting worse. So like, there's all this support to fix all of these lightly tangible concepts and problems. No policies behind them. No one direction. It's just like, we want this for everybody. But how are you going to give this to everybody? Nobody ever says that, and nobody ever does it. So the problem just gets worse. And then they double down on, we need to fix this problem even more. He's not going to fix the problem. We need to fix it. Well, how are you going to do that? We're just going to do it. You just have to wait and find out.
And that's kind of what I wanted to jump into with when you were bringing up Trump was, I remember when he was running, I don't know the guy. I don't know if he's a good person or a bad person. All I knew was our country is no longer ran by politics. It's ran by business. It's pretty obvious. So, especially when you look at, just a basic thing. Anybody Google, the last 4 presidents, the last 4 campaigns. Look at the whoever you're voting for and their opponent, because there's always only 2 choices. So when you go through those and you look each one up, Google top 10 donors. Those top 10 donors are public. They're open. I remember it was George Bush, it was Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Obama, Mitt Romney, all of them, except Trump. But all of them had the same 7 top 10 donors. 7 out of the 10 were the same for both sides through like 2 decades.
Yeah.
And those 7 were all world banks.
Yeah.
Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, J.P. Morgan. It's all these world banks.
It's banks, it's pharma, it's food, it's energy, and it's war.
And people were telling me I was a conspiracy theorist when I was like pulling up a Google thing. I was like, hey, I'm not really political. I was like, but I noticed this because everything's getting political now. I was like, I noticed this, and this was when it was Obama and Mitt Romney. And I looked it up, I Googled it, and I was showing somebody. I said, isn't this weird? I just noticed this. I thought something was weird that Obama was coming out and saying, I have this new thing, new healthcare. It's called Obamacare. And at the same time, Mitt Romney was like, I got one too. It's called Romney Care. And you're like, really? Both of you guys are coming out with healthcare at the same time, and both of you chose to name the healthcare after yourself, and both of you are funded and paid for with your top 7 donors are the exact same people, and you're fighting each other? I mean, like, you guys work together. Clearly,
yeah.
You guys have the same views, the same beliefs. You share essentially all the same stuff except for the fringe stuff on the sides. Like, one kind of goes more towards Christian aspects. One goes towards maybe more the niche market aspects, like the smaller groups,
disability isn't.
Yeah.
I mean, so even now,
but I'm saying when you see those two things, it's like clearly we don't have choices. But what I wanted to get to with that was when I looked at Trump, his top 10 donors, they didn't give hardly anywhere near what all these other presidents have gotten. His top 10 wasn't even close. Yet, and at the same time, I didn't recognize any of them. I was like, I don't even know who these companies are. I know J.P. Morgan, Goldman Sachs are, but I didn't know his donors. So when I started looking into it, one of the things that really stood out to me was how everybody was attacking me for even bringing it up, saying, well, he's not a politician, he's a businessman. I'm like, well, nothing's changed from politicians, but I will tell you, this country is clearly ran by money and business. So a businessman would understand how this is working better than anybody. And that was my whole thing, was give him a shot. There's so much controversy. If he does something wrong, he'll get impeached. And you saw how fast they kept trying to take him out. And I was like, if we get another career politician in here who hasn't done anything in the past 40 years with their career, if we get them in, how do you expect change when this person's born and raised into this and has nothing to show for it? And then you have a guy, it's like, well, yeah, it seems like a wild card throwing him in. I don't agree. I do agree that it seems almost a little crazy to bring somebody like that in.
I mean, he was on The Apprentice. We watched him on the fucking Apprentice.
Yeah, like this.
You're fired.
We're going to vote for this guy?
You know, it's like, it was kind of like, oh, he's not going to win.
Yeah, he's a character. But like, the fact that he was going to these other countries and being like, I know how business works. If you don't do this, we're pulling all of this out. And people were like, okay. We'll do what you say. We'll cut all this. You guys don't have to pay as much. And it's like, he saved our country tons of money that we were just sending out like nothing.
Oh, dude. Okay, so that's a good point. I actually want to get into that. You mind if I kind of like lay this out for a second?
Go for it.
So this whole like kind of elitist control thing. There's a point where this shifted, and it was essentially probably like it's really post World War II, but it really kind of took effect in the 80s. And so, America at the time had a economy crash, which was kind of like the impetus behind a lot of this policy. It's kind of like, oh well, we'll outsource all this stuff. We'll make it cheaper for you. And really what you have...
that's a good example.
Post-World War II, it's like you have... and actually, I watched this interesting interview where the interviewee was basically saying that, the Russian people and the Chinese people were our biggest ally, post-World War II. The Russians were working with us, and... we kind of like sold them out and started taking advantage of them which allowed these kind of like KGB kind of thug types to come in and take over the government. And that now you have Putin, one of our enemies. Same thing with China. It was basically like, China was fighting Japan. We were kind of allied with them. And then, after World War II, it's basically like a power vacuum. And, we took advantage, didn't really do anything. And then now you had the Chinese Communist Party kind of rise. One of our other biggest enemies. So it's like, these two countries, we hate them now. But, essentially at one point, we might have caused that. And you had, a big financial crash in the 80s, and you had a lot of policy around outsourcing this stuff and leniency on trade and all this. It was all to boost the American economy's supremacy. And that's where a lot of these big companies really started to amass a lot of power and a lot of money very quickly. And these policies weren't helping the Americans. I mean, it was, if you look at a trend, a graph, like look this up, corporate earnings or corporate profits or whatever versus costs of living or wages. And you see that the wage increase is linear. And you see the corporate earnings as exponential. And it continues to widen that gap. So why aren't the wages going up? Well, basically all of these elites that took advantage of these countries and then made policies to benefit economically from the people that were doing the hard, dirty labor that, we don't, America used to be a very big, factories and industry. We basically invented the idea of the factory. Now you think of factory, you think of China. Or, it's like you think of, resources and it's like Russia, Africa. So it's like we basically sapped our own workforce and the benefits that come along with the prosperity that brings, and we outsourced it. And who benefits? It's the top, 1%. And then these companies over the years have amassed so much power that now they have lobbying, and they influence politicians with donations and stuff like that. So you've been building this elitist class over the last 40 years. And now that this populist movement is taking hold, people are starting to realize how far this has gotten. And you can't say anything against it because everyone at the top is involved. And you cannot break that system apart without radical change, without a shock. And that is what Donald Trump did. He was a shock to the system. They knew that he was a threat. And you can say whatever you want about Trump. He's not very well, he doesn't carry himself very well. He says a lot of stuff. He's a brawler. I mean,
He's a businessman. Yeah.
Right, exactly. I mean, you can attack him for all those things, but when it comes down to the fundamentals of what he's actually done, it's not as morally reprehensible as people make it out to make it to believe.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a threat to the system. The populist movement is being crushed. You getting to the bathroom?
Yeah.
All right. The populist movement is, Trump has served as the spearhead for people to kind of get behind a populist movement. And, obviously he's been attacked more. A lot of people hate Trump. You have people that love him, people that hate him, people that understand kind of, okay, well, he's beneficial, but he's not the best. I mean, I kind of fall in that category, I think. But really, it's the effort. It's what created Trump, is what we're talking about here. It's the people that see the puppet masters and everything working their way across the globe, and this is not just America too. This is happening pretty much in every country, definitely in the West, and around the world, even the developing, like the kind of, I don't know, second nation, what you'd call that, like a South America, those countries. There's a lot of populist movements going on there now too. And, in my opinion, it's not a bad thing to consider the needs of your people over the needs of anything outside. And America's basically built this situation where we've been so invested outside of our own country, and we have so many influences from outside of our own country that we almost lost control of the ability to silence that noise. I mean, like, the stuff that Trump was doing with the tariffs and all that, people were like, oh, that's going to destroy the economy. It's going to, it's going to fuck everything up. Ended up working pretty well. And like, I don't really know what the policy is now. I don't even know what the policies are now. I don't. What's happened in the last 3 years? Nobody talks about nobody talks about what they're doing. They're just talking about, this group and this high-minded idea.
And that's the left and the right both.
Right.
Nobody acknowledges the policies. Nobody acknowledges the taxes, the money. We need money, and we want to know what you're doing. And they're like, we're going to take more money and not tell you. As a matter of fact, we're not even going to tell you we're taking more money.
We're digging so much into this culture war thing. I don't understand it. This culture war, that's a clash of kind of ideology and culture, and that's okay. That's a natural thing.
We're a melting pot.
But it has nothing to do with government policies. Government policies don't create culture. Nobody fucking understands that. I don't, like, you ask anybody why they support a certain candidate, they come up with some cultural reason. Tell me a cultural reason that your candidate has done that resulted in an actual policy.
Yeah.
So it's all a spin. It's all a masking of emotions and ethos and pathos, and it's really just confusing people, and it's making people hate each other, which is preventing the populist movement.
No, I fully agree. I mean, that's clearly the goal, is, it's like, how do we keep people from paying attention to what we're doing? Well, let's make it more about, what's going on socially between everybody. And it's like, hold on, America's melting pot. We're the only country in the world that is known for just being a little bit of everything. We're not our own thing. You can attack that in the past. We can address that in another episode. But we started as just kind of like a melting pot for everybody to come. Here's a place it's a safe haven in the world.
Yeah.
If something's going on in your country, come here. If your place is too violent, come here. Like, it's a safe haven. You go through the legal system, you get here, you're welcome. You're now an American. Our culture is the melting pot. Our culture is all cultures. Which, again, how do you attack that? Well, you tell people that it's racist and offensive to celebrate anybody's culture but your own. I'm an American. That's my culture, is the melting pot. But I'm wrong if I try to celebrate anything other than the 12 ethnicities that are in me.
It's like, oh, you're not an American. You're a Hispanic woman that, as this socioeconomic class, and you work in this industry, and you're a nerd, all these things. It's like, oh, well,
he's not wrong.
I guess I can only be friends with those people now.
But that's essentially what you do, is you make people feel bad for trying to celebrate different cultures and join in on what is just supposed to be a celebratory, we're all here together, we all have opportunity, we can all do this individually or together, however you want to do it. And then you tell people, not only is celebrating or talking about all these other cultures, not only is that racist, but we're basically going to create these organizations for every group. So if you don't support every single group, and again, that's the rhetoric. I could be like, well, I don't like that BLM isn't giving money back to any communities or the families that it's used to get all these donations. I don't like that it hasn't helped anyone, and it's only really made things more divisive. People are like, well, that's racist. You're like, so I can't have a legitimate idea against this. I just have to be for it, or I am against whatever people think the movement is about. It's like, like, oh, you're against for the cure, you're against curing cancer. At this point, people don't argue that because everybody knows that's not their goal, and it never was. If they wanted to cure cancer, all the money they've gotten, they'd be putting a lot more towards research. They'd be hiring their own team. They would be like, we have billions of dollars. We're going to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah. Any VC out there, I got a plan for all those donation dollars. Let's make clinics that are basically insurance free or adverse or sidelines to test people for cancer. Why aren't there cancer testing centers? All those billions of dollars, why can't you just go get tested for cancer? Like, I'll pay $100 to do that. I'll pay $200 to do that.
Easily done something like
that. But
that.
it's like, oh, well, you want to get MRI, you want to get your blood tested, you want to get, all this CAT scans. Or
give money to people.
Like, oh, it's going to be like $4,000 to test you.
Or take some of that money that's been donated to you and give it to families who need the help with treatments and stuff like that. There's so many things you can do that they don't do.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my issue is none of these things are doing anything. And if you try to argue that they're not doing anything from another political side, like, well, I don't think this is really what it says it is. Well, now we have an argument. We're even more divisive. So we've separated every type of person into their own group. And then we've said, if you don't agree with all of these groups, now you're being divided into your own separate group. And it's like, there's no communication, no talking about anything. We're all in this together. We're all Americans. There's like I'd say a good 99% of the country agrees across the board that regardless of the color of your skin, nobody should be getting shot by cops. I'm sure there is that 1% split up between, different races of people who are like, you know what, I don't really care about this group. Okay, well, that's fine. You're a minority. You're not going to influence this. The majority is. So if the majority says, hey, we all want police reform, forget just, the BLM thing. Like, in general, we need police reform because it's been pretty obvious in the past 20 years that nobody really sees cops on average. And of course, there's the Good Samaritan cops. But on average, most of the cops out there are not saying, oh, your car broke down? I can give you a ride to the gas station. You got money? I can give you the ride to the gas station. We'll get a gas tank, fill it up, and I'll bring you back. Like, you don't
crazy,
see that.
It's the same people that are saying that the cops are corrupt that they're saying give them less money.
Yeah.
Who do you think is going to be a cop? Like,
not just that, but even the crooked cops, where do you think they're going to get more of their money from? Oh, you guys aren't getting funded? Listen, you turn a blind eye to what we're doing in this neighborhood, slinging all this stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of fentanyl coming through, but listen, I'm going to give you $100,000 a year. Basically, you just turn a blind eye. It's like, fuck the department and the people who don't appreciate me. I was crooked before this, but now I'm just going to give up. And I'm going to stay in this position. Basically, I'm a cop who doesn't have to work. I'll just go around and bust random people that I know I can bust. And then I'll just let all the corrupt stuff happen because they're paying me to let it happen. If you don't give them the money and you don't switch out how you're hiring these police and what you're looking for, you're going to keep getting the same evil tyrants who are just power hungry and got bullied in high school.
I mean, this all comes back to the episode we did last week. It was about divisions and how these divisions seem to be widening and being stoked. And it's like, yeah, you can't. There's so much. I just can't explain it in one sentence. You can't just fucking. People are being divided on purpose, and it's preventing us from rising up together. There are things that we all agree with and that we all want to happen. And there are things that are going on that we all think are wrong, but for whatever reason, No one can fucking get their head out of their ass long enough to see it and recognize that the person next to you sees it too. That is what they're afraid of, is when we all kind of get out of our own heads and our own asses of our little identities and these little causes that we all care about, and we all realize, oh, wait, we're all getting fucked pretty hard here. And you're getting fucked just as hard as I am. So who's to blame for all this? Oh.
Yeah, we have all these different groups arguing for equal rights. What if we just had one group that demanded we all get equal rights on everything we all get? Like, there's nothing this group gets that we don't get. It's all going to be equal. And, okay, now that that's done, we're all going to start arguing about this whole tax thing. We're going to start arguing about this unequal wealth and all these loopholes that allow you guys to be making this kind of money in ways that clearly only put us into further debt and hurt things. I understand that there's a legal way for you to make this stupid money, but it's creating more debt. You're making more money that doesn't exist. Like, none of this is good, so that you can be a billionaire who's also in debt, who has like 7 yachts. Like, it's unnecessary. You're doing nothing with the money. Let's close the loopholes so these people who are willing to take those risks stop doing it. I mean, that's the big problem, is the people who are going to risk everything and say, you know what, maybe there's a chance I could go to prison for the rest of my life if I slip up doing this, because it's legal, but it's not legal. Only bad people
Snowden.
only bad people though
Assange.
But only bad people take those types of money risks. So when you see,
Oh, okay. Never mind.
yeah, so I'm saying it's like when Trump was running, he said, when they were like, oh, are you going to stop doing this, or you did this with your taxes or whatever, this or that, and he was like, yeah, I did. He's like, we all do it. Your people do it. And that's why you're not going to fight against it. You're going to call me out, but you're not going to fight against it because your people who pay you do it too. And then they kind of shut up, and it's like, that's the idea, is that only bad people are doing this stuff. And like Trump said, he's like, I do this, but these are loopholes. That's why I'm bringing them out. We don't need these. Yeah, these are not good.
It's like the
and they help him. And the fact that he's willing to sit there and out it, it's like, he's like, I got plenty of money. I've lived a good enough life. Let's start closing these loopholes that allow bad people to have power. And that's what it is.
Just to go off of some of the examples we talked tonight, all of the cancer fund research donations, all that research is being done. If somebody comes up with a breakthrough, who does that belong to?
That's round 2.
Yeah.
Why does this keep happening?
If all of these donations that someone's like, funding for cancer research, if someone comes through a breakthrough, who does that belong to? Does that belong to the nonprofit? Can you now give people cancer treatment at no cost because the research was totally funded by donations? No, it's going to belong to a patent. It's going to be under a company. Someone's going to belong to it, or it's going to belong to somebody. And if that happened in America, they're going to say it happened in Europe. Or, if it happened somewhere else, it's going to happen here. So it's like, and if you're going to make an experimental medication and mandate it to the majority of the population, and you're going to cause us all to pay for it, who gets the profits? Do we get it? No. We're the ones being fucked, and that's what populism is about. It's not just America first. It's fucking populism. It's Europe first, America first, Brazil first. It's all these places being like,
Ukraine.
I don't. Yeah, Ukraine. Oh, Jesus, fucking Christ!
A whole gaggle of meth heads are dying from fentanyl on the freaking sidewalk in major cities, but let's help everybody else. And we're not really going to explain why we're helping them. We're just going to say like they need the help.
Yeah, name 5 cities in Ukraine or Russia. You got Moscow, Kiev. It's all the big ones. You know about 3. But do you really care outside of that? Do you really know anything about those countries?
No, and you shouldn't, because
do you wanna
America
pay-
is our country, and that's all you should care about.
Do you want to pay, proportionally to what your roads are being, the taxes that are applied to your roads? Do you want to pay that same amount to a foreign war? Like, nobody wants to. We've all been convinced that we want to do this. We want to support this. It's a cause. They're being oppressed. It's
And
like,
you-
what about the...
And you would think that the
About the
people would have
Congo.
figured it out after 9/11, when it's like, oh yeah, they took down one of our buildings. Like, we're butthurt.
Oh, yeah.
Like, let's go get them. And
It
then all
was
of a sudden,
Afghanistan. Wait, no, it was Iraq. Wait, no, it was Saudi Arabia.
yeah. And I have,
But
people-
we're friends with them.
I have people on the inside telling me how Afghanistan, one of the big things about that was just for the opium, to go and take over the opium fields and not just control them, but expand them. So not only did we go there and kill a bunch of people who were farming drugs, like, some people would be like, good job. Well, hold on. We stole their drugs and then we doubled it. So now there's more drugs being circulated through the world.
I mean, that's
It's like
the billions of dollars that went into this paramilitary contracting stuff from the 80s until even now. It's like the same time we were outsourcing our labor and fucking over the American person or the true prosperity of the American dream, we were selling it. Someone else at the top was selling it for us, taking money away from us, and they were putting that money into, like, oh, let's go destabilize Syria. Let's go destabilize, this area of the South Pacific or this Middle Eastern country that you've never heard of and nobody cares about. And we won't say that we're actually in a war with. But you can hire mercenaries on this government-run website and you can buy missiles from us. It's like, that shit's been going on for 30 years now.
yeah.
And the veterans and the people that died and lost their lives and have legs blown off and stuff like that, you see commercials, they're like, oh, donate to the Veterans Fund of Wounded Warriors and Tunnels for Towers and all this stuff. It's like, okay, yeah, you build houses for veterans. Great. How about you don't fund wars? No
Or at
one loses
least-
their leg.
Or at least the money you would have funded, give to the guys who already had their legs blown off for your war. Take care of the people who need the help. I mean, there's so many situations where you can do your own research and see this country. We went over, said this leader was corrupt, took him out publicly. But then that's the end of it. And you don't really hear any more stories. They don't tell you that somebody else was kind of ready to take that position, because we all know that in our country, there's not people on standby ready to run for president.
Yeah, you don't know that we destabilized it 10 years ago, installed some shadowy government using the CIA and all this other bullshit, and then took him out because we, now we have the impetus and the funding and the support to go in and take this guy out. Well, we created it. Thank you, Northrop Grumman and Raytheon and
Grommet.
Grumman.
That's a purple McDonald's guy.
Northrop Grumman? Wait, Grumman? No, it's Grumman.
He didn't steal the burgers, but he ate
You're talking about Grimace.
Grimace, the purple one?
Yeah, Northrop
Oh,
Grimace.
Grommet. Well, he was
Wallace and Gromit.
I thought it was a Muppet.
The clay
I'm still
thing. It's
off.
the clay people.
Oh yeah, I was like,
chicken
Grommet's in
run.
my head somewhere from childhood. I'm digging through like decades of like memories here.
Yeah, nobody knows what these organizations are. They all have strange names.
And that was just an example of, look at this hand while this is going on over here.
Except for
you had no idea
Kratos.
that whole time. I actually scratched a thing and was asking if you play the game of life.
I did play the game of life.
Oh, that doesn't count.
It does count. I did
That
do
doesn't
it.
count.
You want to see my last
That's
bottle?
anxiety. That's
My
not
last-
intentional.
It's not on my last bottle, but it
That's
was on the-
anxiety. That's not intentional.
that I did it. I picked it. That's what I always do.
Oh, it could have come out of the factory.
This
like
one,
that.
all right. This one is tough. Some of them were a little more moist. Give that a try. Not where I did. See, Sometimes it just don't work.
Whatever. It's a stupid game then. Too many variables.
Well, we are coming up on 11 o'clock. We were about an hour and 20 streaming. You want to try to end in the next 10 minutes at least?
Yeah, do you want to start going over some of our closing thoughts and whatnot?
Some closing thoughts, yeah.
Let's go through. We're going to go through some closing thoughts.
It's the part of the show where we kind of sum up, what we've said, trying to give you guys some solutions, something to look forward to. It's not all just doom and gloom at this point. There are things we can do. You want me to start, I guess?
Go for it.
Oh, yeah. Also, we have a promotion going on if you are joining for the first time. Not the phone. If you join the channel and you send us an email of a screenshot of your subscription, we will give you a $5 Amazon gift card. Just send that to parodyworldproductions@gmail.com. I'm trying to grow the YouTube channel. We've been doing the show for about 2 or 3 years. And we just went on YouTube pretty much this year or so. Definitely are looking for subscribers, and we will hook you up.
It's free money.
Free money.
Hit subscribe. Take
and
a
also,
screenshot.
if you have any perspectives to give us, we have a call line here. It's totally anonymous. Your number won't be shared. You don't have to say your name. You don't have to say anything about yourself. You could just call us and prank us. Just call us and prank us. I don't even care. I don't even care at this point.
There's a voice changer. There's an app for everything.
Obviously, if you say anything offensive, we're going to have to mute you and all that. But, yeah. So, we do the show every Wednesday. Usually about between 8 and 9 Central.
Yeah, we'll get a good schedule down.
Yeah. It's never a set time. But, all right. So, end of the show. We just sum everything up. The populist movement. So, you may not know that you're a populist. It may be a movement that's being slandered, and you're told to not believe in or not support. But that is false. Populism is, we all want to live a better life in this country and in respective countries around the world. The shadowy deals between governments and corporations and big mover. I'm talking about the oil industry, the pharmaceutical industry, the
Breaking
food
Bad
industry.
on a global level.
Yeah, Breaking Bad on a global level. It's the people with the money and the power and the influence are trying to divide you and trying to prevent you from standing with the person next to you. They want to cultivate your identity so that you don't feel like you have any connection to the person next to you. Well, that is false. We're all Americans. We all pay the same taxes. We all live in the same areas. And there's no reason why the policies that are being made should not reflect what benefits us all the most. And, that's kind of like in broad terms what we've talked about this whole episode, and we've been painting that picture. But really, it's not a scary right-wing populist movement. It's been slandered that way. It's right and it's left. It's global. People are starting to wake up. And this is not what the ones who are in power want. And everyone who is an independent voice for change, Elon Musk, people like Joe Rogan and Russell Brand and all these independent Tucker Carlson, he got so much heat for talking to Putin. It's like he's trying to at least bring some type of close to this never-ending money pit, arms parade that everybody is profiting on, and nobody gives a fuck about the Ukrainian people. They don't care about them. It's a money funnel. Understand that shit. All of your money is being funneled to Bezos. It's being funneled to Google, all these things. And now your data and AI and everything, it's all being accumulated, sold, profiled, this is not what we want. We want a fucking movement where we all stand together and we care about our individual countries and our lives, and we make those better. And, fuck the corporate. Fuck them all.
Fuck them all.
I'm just done. I'm just done at this point. It's been so suppressed and so attacked and so censored, all this stuff. I mean, like, we're trying to be good on YouTube and not say anything too controversial. And we're not really controversial people. We're just independent thinkers. And that's what it takes. That's what it's going to take. It's going to take people thinking for themselves, questioning what they hear, looking into things, doing actual research and following the trail. Like you said, like the donations on whatever charity. If you are going to donate to a charity, follow the links. Follow the sources and the citations and find out where that's really going. The more you look into stuff, the more the big picture starts to unveil itself. And it's really about, it's not about your interests. We talked about a lot of stuff on this episode. I can't really quantify it all, but populism, it's not a bad thing. All right, I'm done. I rest my case.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think as far as solutions go, I think essentially, it's like a bug's life. We just got to come together and say, fuck the wasps. Like, to me, it's that simple.
That scene is perfect. Sorry, I didn't even mean to.
It is. We all just have to agree that
one ant stands up to the fucking grasshoppers, and they all stand up.
Yeah, that's what they're afraid of. We all know that we have the numbers. We all know the movies that we had when we were kids. It all resonated the same thing. We will be taken over if we divide ourselves, but united, we stand.
It's the snake.
It's our
13
country.
Colony.
Divided we fall. Divided we fall. United we stand. It doesn't take rocket science to figure out what that means. If we are divided, America will fall. If we all unite together, we will stay together. We'll stand. America will stand.
It's funny how that that snake flag, the I guess not the red
Don't
wolf.
tread on me.
Yeah, the "Don't Tread on Me" snake. People are like, oh, that's a racist flag. That's literally what we're talking about. It's like that was incentivizing people in the colonies that were subservient to a government that didn't give a fuck about them. Hundreds, thousands of miles away, it was getting them to realize if we don't all agree with this and we don't all stand together, then we're all going to continue to be fucked.
Yeah. It's
racist now.
But that's, clearly there's an obvious solution. The problem is that this country has been set up so technologically advanced that the normal person is powerless to recreate it. Like, you can figure out how your phone works, but can you figure out how to make it? No, you can't. It's so advanced. You would need a team of people who have gone through this, who understand essentially how to do it, but then you need the money for the infrastructure, for the place, for the machinery, for the software that allows these computers to print out these chips and everything. It's so advanced that we can't keep up with it. So the idea is here's this lavish lifestyle. You guys can go on Instagram and message your buddy on Facebook. You can take a picture and do about 7 filters over filters over filters and make yourself look like the Queen of England. Like, whatever you want to do, you can do it. You have streaming apps. Like you said, everything is subscription-based now. You take out the very small group that just kind of runs everything and pushes one message, and if they were to get locked up, there goes the money trail that allows this stuff to exist. So we are going to get set back a little bit, but the reality is who can argue that social media is a benefit? There's beneficial things like keeping in touch with people that you don't see anymore, but at the same time, it's like your buddy moved 7 states away. You have his phone number. We still have phones. If you need to talk, you can call him. You can plan a time to visit him. But you don't need to see what he posts.
Judge his lifestyle from behind you.
Yeah, you don't. He
got a lot fatter now.
We're not supposed to be able to do that. If somebody leaves, they leave. You focus on your life. This person just went 7 states away, and they're building an empire. Well, every night you get home from your job at McDonald's, you lay in bed for 3 hours, just scroll through feeds, and every night you end up coming across his, and you're like, man, he's doing so good. I'm so jealous. Well, how about you get off the phone, stop researching other people's lives, and live your own.
Maybe you'll hate other people's lives less.
Yeah, it should be. Oh, like I can call somebody if I loved phones when they came out for texting and calling. We don't need the internet on them. We don't need all these apps. All we need are the basics. So that, if your kid goes to the mall, they have a phone, you can call them if you need to, or they can call you if you're in trouble. That's it. You don't need to see what Beyonce's up to right now because it doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with your life or anything. You might think it's interesting, but to me, that's the problem, is you're substituting what should be interesting in your life with what's interesting in others, and you're raising that bar for interesting. And now you're no longer interested in yourself. And like I said, solutions, what it really comes down to is people just realizing that, hey, we all agree social media has kind of created a spike in depression. Social media has kind of created a narcissistic generation. Social media hasn't really been used for anything positive. It's really just been used to gloat, make people feel bad, or attack people without worrying about consequences of being hit in the face for saying something ignorant to somebody. The reality is we learn and we grow by human interaction. And we take that, when we take that away and we limit it to a keyboard, your interactions aren't real, and your experience isn't real, and what you're becoming isn't real. That's why if another country comes and invades and we have troops going everywhere, people are going to be like, oh, no, like, just don't hurt me. And it's like, okay, most people I think would just bow down. And it's like, do you understand what you're bowing down to and how your life is going to change significantly? You're going to wish that they just killed you. It's what it is. You're going to wish they unalived you. But it's that simple. If for a solution, a great quote I heard earlier from that Brazilian homie was, this country was built on the blood and sweat of men who were fighting for freedom. It is ignorant to think that it wouldn't take blood and sweat to maintain that freedom. And that's a problem. We've become so docile, we don't realize we're not doing anything to keep our freedom. And that is why we're losing it. And some would argue that what's happening to us is our own fault, and essentially we deserve it.
We're trading it for convenience and security.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like we deserve what's happening to us. If we really want to be independent as a nation, we need to make sure that the people who represent us only represent us. And that's it. They represent the majority. We don't represent them. They don't, and I mean, it just drives me crazy. You fly a flag in front of your business and people are like, oh yeah, they stand for it. They represent us. No, they want more business. They could care less about the cause. And this guy probably hates gays. He probably hates them, but you don't know that because you don't know the person. You just know that he bought a bunch of rainbow flags off Wish, hung them on all of his different locations. And now you're like, well, this company supports it. How? What do? They fly the flag. So people look and they see that and they're like, yeah, I'll get behind that because nobody drives past JP Morgan and sees a rainbow flag and goes, maybe I've been looking at this wrong. If JP Morgan supports it, maybe I'll support it. If somebody doesn't support it, they don't support it. And that's just life. That's how it is.
Yeah.
But it's this idea that we all have to fight to get everybody to agree on what everybody's independent opinion is
of utopia.
Yeah, everybody's independent perspective on what is morality. Morality is simply us allowing each other to believe in different things, but standing up for each other's rights. That's all it is. That's what it should be. It's like whether you agree with LGBT or not, I support their freedom to be who they want. I also support the freedom of speech for somebody to talk to them and be like, I disagree. And I support their right to yell back and say, you don't know what I'm going through. I support a conversation about everything that's going on. But I do not support faceless corporations that just
censor,
that say they're backing this group and do nothing but just make money off that rhetoric. It's like, you're not donating, you're not making a difference, you're not helping communities, you're taking more money out of the communities, using robots for more of your shit, firing more people, like you're impoverishing. You're bad, and that's all it is at its heart. It doesn't matter what the country is or where we've gone. It matters what's right and wrong. And if you're making that much money off of people and you're doing nothing to help people, I mean, it's selfish.
Taking advantage.
It's selfish. There's no other way to look at it. I mean, good for you for creating an empire, but if you're not doing anything with that empire, you're not a ruler, you're not a leader, you're selfish, and that's all it is.
Well said, man. Well, honestly, there's a lot to cover on this topic, and we will be revisiting it in the future. If you are joining us for the first time, please give the channel a follow. We need to build our YouTube, our YouTube following, so we get more favor from the algorithms, because they want to censor us, they want to divide us, they want you to not listen to shows like this.
And we want you to join in on shows like this. So we want to create a bigger network so we have more of you guys calling in. We can really expand the conversation. I mean, me and him, we might have some good thoughts on things, but we want to see what you got.
Hey, even if
we're
you're
just two dudes.
Even if you're seeing the show after the fact, we need more followers. Send us a screenshot of your subscription to ParityWorldProductions@gmail.com. We'll give you a $5 Amazon gift card. Hands, no strings attached.
No strings, just our hands.
Just
our hands.
Just give that little handy hand. But thank you for watching, and we will join you next Wednesday.
Parity World out.
Meta Perspective Podcast.